Welcome to the virtual office hours. Professor Fia here. Got the founding father Pez dispensers with me. This week in class we actually went to another colonial region. This time we looked at the Middle Colonies. So we discussed, remember, the Chesapeake colonies, economic motivations for settlement largely, the Puritan colonies, the New England colonies, where we focused on Massachusetts Bay. And I think if you remember what I said in lecture, the Middle Colonies are not just geographically sort of in the middle, but they also sort of embrace the similar motivations as both the New England colonies and the Chesapeake colonies. Economic motivations as well as religious motivations, although the religious motivations for the settlement of Pennsylvania are quite different than the religious motivations for, say, the settlement of Massachusetts Bay. So we talked about the Middle Colonies, and again, just like when we talked about the Chesapeake, we zeroed in on Virginia as a case study. When we did New England, we zeroed in on Massachusetts Bay as a case study. And since we're in Pennsylvania, I decided to zero in on Pennsylvania as the case study for the Middle Colonies. So we had a whole lecture on the founding of Pennsylvania. Remember, Pennsylvania is one of these restoration colonies, these post-1660 restoration colonies, when Charles II in the Stuart line comes back onto the throne in England. Remember, the Pennsylvania colony is founded by William Penn. He is a Quaker. We discussed in class the various tenets of Quakerism, what Quakers believed, and how that may or may not have translated into the colonies, into the colony, I should say, particularly the inner light, social equality, anti-slavery, the organizational system of the Quakers. Then we looked a little bit at William Penn, know the motivations for why William Penn wanted to settle this region. And again, they're driven by religious and economic reasons. One, he wanted a haven for Quakers. Two, he wanted a haven for all sort of dissenting Protestants, persecuted Christians. And then third, he saw this as an investment. He wanted to make some money on Pennsylvania as well. Now, when we think about Pennsylvania and the way it develops, then you have these another three categories to think about. You have that Pennsylvania is a very religiously free place, religious freedom especially, making it unlike the colonies in the Chesapeake and in New England, which often had established churches, Rhode Island being the exception in New England. Pennsylvania is also, obviously then, if you have religious freedom, it's also going to be, secondly, a very diverse colony. You're going to see pluralism develop here for the first time. Not only religious pluralism as different denominations come to the colony, but also ethnic diversity. And we talked a little bit about the Scots-Irish and the Germans who settled the Pennsylvania backcountry and the communities that they established in colonial Pennsylvania. And then we describe Pennsylvania as well as a liberal colony. And I joked in class, when we talk about liberalism, we're not talking about the 20th century political ideology associated with, say, the Democratic Party or the late Ted Kennedy or something like that. We're talking about 18th century liberalism. The idea that Pennsylvania is the best poor man's country in the world. It's a place where people can come and make a better life for themselves. And we can probably say that that idea of making a better life for yourself applies more to Pennsylvania than any of the other colonies that are founded up until this point. So think about the Quakers, think about the motivations for William Penn, and then the kind of colony that Pennsylvania became. And then if you remember at the end of lecture, I said something along the lines of, if you are looking for a colony that will really sort of reflect what the United States after 1776 will become, colony based on freedom, colony based on sort of liberal principles, a colony based on diversity, pluralism, you really have to look to Pennsylvania as one of the prime examples of this. So Middle Colony lecture, try to process that, try to compare the Middle Colonies to the Chesapeake colonies, the New England colonies. And that'll be an important task for you to do as we move forward. And I will see you next time in class. Thanks for watching.